Hello and welcome back to a new Kerbal Space Program video and a new episode and a colonization collaboration with benthebest5. And if you haven't seen the previous episode, be this time really sure to check it out, since we are now around Vall in the Julian system. And we are going to start our mission after having transferred Bill, Bob, Jebediah and one more Kerbal into the lander. We are going to undock from our main colony ship, and after clearing it with a small little bump there, we are going to head down to the surface of Vall. And this means, more or less, in today's episode, as you probably have seen from the title and the thumbnail, which is this time already done. I know how the thumbnail is going to look like, and I do think it is a pretty decent thumbnail. It has a few pictures together, spliced together, so that you can see pretty much everything that we're going to do in today's episode already as a preview and a bit as a impression or to look forward to, except from one little part, but more on that later. We are now heading down to the beautiful frozen and, well, not surprisingly, but rather flat surface of Vall, and in a beautiful, like, light bluish tone. So that's really beautiful, and we're here approaching pretty decent, because the lander that benthebest5 constructed is very capable, and on top of that we actually have a small little rover on board. But more to that in just a second, even though you already see it without it being obstructed at all. And here we have a nice and gentle touchdown with those four LV99 Terrier engine. That's definitely no problem to land here safely. Now, after having landed, quickly disembarking the crew and detaching the lander. God darn it, no. I mean, of course, the little buggy. But first, of course, we're going to take out Bill, Bob and Jeb out of the crew capsule and plant our mandatory flag here to commemorate the landing here, and of course prove everybody that we actually were able to get to Vall, and our expedition is going to continue now onwards from here. Yay! All the curves are looking nice, and so we take Bill. I think, or is it Bob? No, that's Bob. That's Bob. Take the lander. Take the buggy from underneath the lander and jump right into it. And with that, our small little surface excursion on the surface of Vall is going to start. Driving around, having a look at different things and surface features, and being just interested in how the surface of Vall actually is. We did disable the front brakes, or reduce the braking strength of the front brakes, and disable the steering on the rear brakes, and anything else that I... No, I think that's all the small changes to the rover and to the buggy itself. But everything went smoothly. We were driving quite a bit. Of course, for you guys, I think it is like 10 times regular speed, I think. To the first surface feature that I found, and by the way, speaking of surface features, I do think it is a bit of a shame that we have not brought a scanning arm with us, but that's not really a big deal. But yeah, that would have been maybe an interesting add-on for this little surface excursion here. But right now we're going to take out our Kerbals again, disembark, and place down the surface signs that we actually brought with us in the little buggy, because that's a perfect place, right? I mean, just having a surface experiments right next to the landing zone is, well, more or less regular, nothing new. Well, it is new in terms of we've never been to Vall so far, but still, for the Kerbals, that's just a regular landing zone. However, right next to this Geyser, this is certainly a special environment and worth having a look at. And that's why we, of course, first of all went to the Geyser, and of course it is a nice surface feature. It looks pretty, and I do think it gives for a pretty interesting lore aspect, or just storytelling aspect, having a surface science station right next to a Geyser and analyzing all the plumes that are coming out of it and how this actually impacts the surrounding area here. And we quickly took Jebediah, because he is, of course, very adventurous and brave, into the geyser. I just wanted to actually try out whether there is any some sort of effect when you enter into its plume with a Kerbal or something. There's absolutely nothing, which is a bit a shame, I think. But yeah, after that we entered again into the buggy and we're driving around even more, and now I think the footage is 12 times? Or was it earlier 8 times and it is now 10 times? I'm not quite sure, but anyways, we're moving really fast through the footage. I think that was around 20 minutes drive. Yeah, but we just completed more or less, or will complete all of this in around 2 minutes. So yeah, we saw another 2 Geysers, but there was nothing else really interesting there. So we decided to head back to the ship. We flipped once because of my mistake, and their one battery pack broke on the roof, but that was not really a big issue. And then we flipped a second time, but the second flip, that was not my input. I wasn't even touching the control keys. It was just flip, and the rotor flipped, and we broke one of the headlights and the second, no wait, only the one of the headlights. And like I said, that was just probably because of time acceleration, well, physical time warp, and us moving at around 13-ish meters per second across the surface. So yeah, that might actually explain that. And just as a small side note, that's approximately 50 kph. Hey, that makes no sense. 50 kph, that's like way too slow. Anyways, let's just stick with that. I know that actually might work. Anyways, after that we have boarded the capsule again, and now we are waiting for a good small transfer. Well, launch angle to meet up with the colony ship back in orbit, where we're going to wait until we have a reasonable transfer window, but more on that later. And yes, you are thinking the right thing. Exactly, in today's episode we're not only exploring Vall, no, we're also heading back home to Kerbin. But anyways, the launch itself with this craft, super easy, super simple, great Vall SSTA, so getting off into a Vall orbit without any issues whatsoever. And with now starting the rendezvous process, we're just going to fade across to the actual docking, because, well, you don't have to watch the rendezvous process. We've covered that a couple of times in this series. I did, I think, like 2 or at least 2. One very in-detailed docking slash rendezvous, and Ben did not only 1 but 2, so I think as well, so that's definitely something you can see on both channels if you need more on that. But anyways, after having a nice solid docking approach here without any RCS, since the craft has no RCS, we'll transfer the Kerbals back into the colony ship, where they can stretch their legs and await their next, well, the next chapter of our journey. Fast forwarding a bit, we now transfer a small amount of liquid, well, the remaining amount of liquid fuel from the lander itself into one of the, well, it doesn't matter into which one of the fuel tanks from the actual main stage. And then we quickly do a small deorbit burn, well, just deorbiting the entire colony ship, and then we're going to decouple the lander as well as the like life support slash garbage module slash just storage module there. And now it's drifting off and going to crash into the surface of Vall, and we're not going to leave any sort of space junk around here. So that's definitely good, apart from the buggy, but that's not that big of a deal. Anyways, transferring to the ejection burn, well, after actually ejecting from Vall, you can see Vall there in the background. We did a small correction burn in the transit between Vall and Tylo to have a nice Tylo encounter, and just mainly correct our plane because our orbit was very inclined. And with that we do our actual ejection burn from the Julian system into interplanetary space. And now we just plan this is not the burn itself, but rather planning for our correction burn a bit further down the line to have a nice Kerbin intercept. Now, super time warp! I actually thought I had the correct transfer window, but as it turned out, no, it wasn't. So we had to wait a bit. Anyways, but after a 20-minute time warping time, we have finally a nice Kerbin encounter. And, well, this is actually a bit special. So we're heading down towards Kerbin super duper fast, and we do have a lot of fuel left, so let's burn off our, at least some part of our excess fuel to slow down and ease our re-entry. Of course, this has a special reason why we're doing that. After that, anyways, we ditched the capsule. Well, we detached the capsule with the heat shield from the main craft. The main craft starting to blow up. We are entering Kerbin's atmosphere, of course, with 4,600 meters, but somehow the capsule blows up as well. And the second capsule does the same thing. Really weird, even though we had a heat shield. So this really baffled me, and I decided to show you that because, well, I usually, or at least I used to think that if you enter with a heat shield, because the heat shields in KSP are pretty OP, you don't have any problems at whatever velocity you're coming in. But as it turned out, that's not true. So I've actually learned something from this, and this, well, necessitated a new approach to how to get rid of the entire velocity in order to survive re-entry, because the heat shield alone was not enough. The thermal conductivity from the heat shield into the capsule is what blew the capsule up. So the entire heat that the heat shield can sustain is not really radiated away, but transferred through convection to... Is it convection? No, I think it's not convection, it's just general transfer. Anyways, just transferring the heat to the next part, and the next part is the Mark II lander can, and that thing is not really heat resistant. So in our next approach, we started burning a lot earlier, almost burned up the entire fuel, and we kept on the cruise ship until, well, it pretty much disintegrated completely before ditching the capsule. And at that point, we only were flying at 3,300 meters per second, and that is in the tolerable range of the, well, thermal conductivity of the heat shield to the capsule. And with that, we actually have a safe re-entry. The crew was a bit shaken around, especially in this last seconds before detaching the capsule, but in the end, they are happy, they had their joy. Like, they had their roller coaster ride for free, and that's the most important thing, right? That they had fun and are safely back on Kerbin. And with that, the capsule is gently gliding back to the surface with all its opened up parachutes. And I hope you have enjoyed this colonization, well, this mission to Vall, and the video. So be sure to check benthebest5's video out as well, and give a like if you like this. So thanks very much for watching, and until next time, Spaceship signing out. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friends.